this bar, but first there's some push pins right here. You want to take those out. Just take a trim tool, get underneath those, remove those, right there and right there. Take these bolts out here, use a 13mm socket. And do the same on the other side. And grab this bar and slide it out of the way. Now we're gonna have to take the cabin filter out. Just twist these little twists right here, these little locks, and those should pop up. And then same on that, there's 3 of them. Lift that flap up and then grab the filter, and it just slides right out. Now I'm gonna use a T30 socket, take these screws out. Be careful, don't drop them. No. Pull those out. And there's one more over here. And then just grab this piece. You just want to lift this up, kind of like twist it out of the way, and it just slides out. Take the cap off, just twist it to the left. And then you can use a straight blade screwdriver. Just get underneath here. Just be careful where it clips on. Just pry it out. Using a 6mm hex bit or an Allen bit, you want to take off these screws right here, and there's one in the back as well. And grab the cover, slide it up, pull those wires out of the way, slide it off. Now we're gonna disconnect the coil. There's a ratchet underneath here. You just grab this and slide it up as you disconnect the wire. The wire slides right out. And you can grab the coil, kind of wiggle it a little bit as you pull it out. It comes straight out like that. And we're gonna do the same for the rest of them, just take them all out. Take this connector off right here. Just push the tabs on the side, then you can wiggle that off. I'm gonna use an E10 Socket. It's basically a negative Torx. And take these 2 bolts off. There's one more bolt underneath there that we can't get to. We have to pull this wiring harness out of the way. So just use a straight blade screwdriver, slide these out of the way. There's a ground right here. We can take that ground off. Use an 8mm socket, take that off. Disconnect that nut. Take that nut off, then you can move that wire. There we go. If you lift this up, there is another ground wire in the back. Take that off as well. 8mm socket. Then those wires are out of the way. Now we can see that. Use that same E10 socket. Take that bolt out right there. slide out. Might have to lift up on it a little bit. Slide that out. We're going to disconnect this connector right here. There's 2 tabs on the side. You can use a pick or a small screwdriver. Just move the tabs over a little bit. And that just comes off right there. Those are the 2 tabs. Just want to pry out on those. Take this cover off. I'm just going to use a straight blade screwdriver. Just pop these off. You can slide the wires out. You can pop the clips off the backside too. You can take the whole cover off. Slide that out of the way. Now there's some wires that go to the O2 sensors. Just move those out of the way. Take those out of the retainers. Just give yourself a little more slack. I can just move to the side. We want to disconnect the fuel injectors. The connectors are right here. It's a little bit tricky to get to these if you use a pick and a screwdriver. You just want to get underneath these clips and just kind of slide them to the side. Just like that on both sides, and then the injector will be able to be disconnected, but you're going to have to do it to each one first. So go down the row, there's 6 of them, and disconnect those. Those are all disconnected. We can slide this up, and this is what they look like, these little clips right there. If you could get from the back side, you could pop those off, but it's really difficult. So you just want to pop those out from the front. And then you're going to have to reset them anyway, so let's do that now so we don't lose any. And just take the wiring harness and just slide it out of the way. You can wire tie it out of the way if you want to, but that should be fine, just like that. Just be careful. In the back there's a hose that needs to be disconnected. You just push on the sides and pop that off. If you need to, you can use some needle nose pliers to try to squeeze that. And pop that off. That's where you want to squeeze. If you have to, you can use a pick and just get under the center and on the bottom. Slide that out of the way. I'm going to start with the center bolts. Take those out. Use a 10mm socket. Slide those out. They are caged, so as long as they're loose, you'll be okay. But you can pull them out if you want to. Then we're going to use an E10 socket and around the perimeter of the valve cover. Take all those screws out. Loosen them up. And again, those are caged, so you don't have to pull them out. Just make sure they're loose. All those bolts are loose. I'm just going to use a little pry tool just under here. I'm just using a trim tool, but you can use anything to pry up. Just make sure all the bolts are loose. Just grab the valve cover, slide it up, and out of the way. And if the gasket fell off, grab the gasket, pull that off. And you want to take some brake parts cleaner and a rag and just clean up any of the areas where the gasket is going to go. Clean up any of the old gasket material. Check the gasket, make sure the gasket's on all the way. That looks good all the way around. Just push it down. And with the surface area clean, we can slide this back in position. Make sure if any of these sleeves came out that you want to put these back in. So make sure you have 6 of those all lined up. And just slide it in position. Just make sure that none of the wires are pinched underneath. Just get it lined up. You want to go around and tighten all the bolts. I'm going to go from the center and work my way out. You can tighten these middle bolts down as well, and then alternating from side to side. And then I'm going to go around and torque these bolts to 88 inch-pounds. Make sure you're on inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. And I'm going to go from the center and work my way out again. Put this hose on in the back, line it up, and click it in place. And you can take these wires, line this up, make sure all those clips are in the proper place. With those lined up, and push them down. You can take these O2 sensor wires and slide those into the retainers. Make sure those are all in position. And connect this connector right here. Just lock it down. That's good. Now I take this motor, slide it in position. Get it lined up. And then get the bolts started. And get these top bolts started first. Before we tighten those down, what you want to do is get that bottom one in. There might be a little spring tension on it. You just push it in a little bit and get this bottom one lined up. Get that started. With all those started, then I'll tighten these ones down first, and then we'll snug up that bottom one. Snug that down, and that one, and snug it down. Now take the wiring harness brackets and get those all lined up. And plug that in. Take this vacuum plug, take that off the old one and put it on the new one. And it just slides on just like that. Now put these grounds on and take the nut, get those nuts started. Do the same on the other one. And just snug those down. take a little dielectric grease, put a little in the end. I'm going to do that with all of them. Slide that in position, lock it down, and put the connector in. Lock that down, and you can do the same with the other ones. Now we can put these wires back through this holder. Put the smaller wires in the back. Get that lined up. And put the cover on. Take this gasket, you can transfer it over from the old one, and put the cover on. Line that up, and put the bolts in. There's 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Get those all started. Once they're all started, then you can tighten them down. Now take the oil filter cap from the other one. You want to have it so that the BMW is like this. BMW words are like that. And then open this up and just lock that on down below. And it's locked on like that. So that works good. I'm going to take this panel, slide it underneath, tip it into position. And put the screws back in. Get them all started, and then tighten them down. Snug those down. And slide the filter in place. And push it down, lock the locks down. Let's slide this bar in place. Put the bolts in. And tighten these down. And line the push pins up, push those in, and push them both down.